In progress. Jason or Trish, would you mind taking the roll, please?
Trustee Mayhem.
Here.
Trustee DeBaldi.
Here.
Trustee March. Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Here.
Trustee Lamont.
Here.
Trustee Padilla.
Here.
Mayor Kreitz.
Here. All right. Thank you very much. All right, let's stand and join each other for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of
America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Any changes to our agenda this evening?
No, Mayor, no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. I don't believe we have any special presentations, correct?
No special.
All right, thank you. We'll move right into public comment. This portion of our agenda is provided to allow members of our audience to provide comments to the town board. Please sign in and I will call you. If your comments or concerns require an action, that item or items will be placed on a later agenda. Well, we'll see what we have available. Thank you. Abigail, hi. If you don't mind joining us at the podium and just state your name and address for our record, I would appreciate that.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Abigail Hebert. I live at 5434 Bear Lane, and I am your designated representative on the Carver Valley Board of Parks and Rec. This evening, I came to introduce myself. I think it's been about a year since I've been here last, so just making sure that you all know who I am. My second comment, last month at our meeting, we did a proclamation to make July as Park and Recreation Month, and we would like for you guys to join us as well, along with the town of Firestone and the city of Tacoma. If you need the proclamation, we can get it sent over to you, and we would appreciate it if you could join us.
Yes,
Have
thank
the
you.
rest of your evening.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. That would be helpful. I have Dave Record.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
So David Record, 4666 Sedona Lane, that's in Dacono. So thank you for letting me speak this evening. I really appreciate it. My name is Dave Record, like I just stated, and I'm here to speak about are you familiar with the intersection at Hawthorne and Morrison? And the dip there, the crosspan? Are you familiar with that particular intersection? So on the 2nd of June, I was working and in the evening and went into that intersection, didn't see a sign for a dip, went through the intersection, caused about $2,000 worth of damage to my vehicle. Next day, came and reported it to the city or the town, and went out and also took pictures, spoke with the gentleman that lives on the southeast corner. His name is Jim. He stated that it had been reported to the city many times that that is a problem. Took pictures. The sign, the dip sign, is 100% obscured going northbound, and so that's obviously a concern not just for myself but for other people going through that intersection. As I was standing there talking with Jim, a worker pulling a trailer came through that intersection and launched tools off of their trailer going through there. 2 days later, I came back and the city or somebody had cleared that tree obscuring that, which is good. So the reason I'm here is to just bring attention to that, but also, so I made a claim with the city, and this isn't just about me, which was denied. Okay, and I understand that because it's the homeowner's responsibility. I didn't know this. The homeowner's responsibility to make sure that the sign is not obscured. That was new to me. I didn't understand that. But beyond that, if the homeowner doesn't keep that sign unobscured, it is up to the town to enforce the municipal code, which means that that homeowner or tenant is to receive a warning, an assessment, etc. At any time, the town can go out and cut the tree and make it safe. That was not done. So myself, and I'm sure other people have been through that intersection and caused damage to their vehicles. I'm a disabled veteran. I work on some days. Most days I can't. I had 2 brain injuries while serving the country in the Middle East, and it's just, so if someone like me who's on a limited income, $2,000 is a lot. It's a lot. And so my claim was denied. I'm the one that I brought it forward. At least something's got to be done there. And so I took pictures. I'm happy to leave them here. It shows how obscure the intersection is. What am I asking for? What I'm asking for is for you guys to do something about the intersection beyond the, cutting the tree to fix it. A small investment by you guys to fix that will save people like me from having to come up with money I don't have. I took the money from my rent for next month. Anyway, that's it. I just thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I hope that something can be done about that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. We will try to do better, but if you don't mind leaving those photos, and we'll discuss as a team,
Yeah.
maybe better understanding the dip itself, and that would be helpful. So we'll at least have a discussion about it.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, you're welcome, of course. I'll just mark up the picture so it has directions on it, and I'll leave
That's
them.
nice.
Okay.
Town
Yeah.
manager and me, I'll be.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm glad
Leave
to
it anytime.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That is all I have for public comment. If that is not the case, I'll give a 30-second time frame in case someone changes their mind. Hi. All right, we'll move right into staff reports. Brian, let's start up please.
Yes, Mayor and members of the board, I got a couple of items that I just want to hit on that aren't in the report, but just updates. First one is, again, a huge thank you to, I think, Jessica Communications and obviously Renee, Angela, and Zach for the successful Frederick flight. I believe on Saturday night, I think it was, again, a record-breaking crowd that was there. I think that was evident by the downtown area. So in addition to them, I know that they've spent many months preparing for that event, but in addition to that, there's also Public Works, Parks, Police Department, and we had volunteers from all over the town that were there participating. So just, again, thanks to the team. It does matter to have the team out there in all different capacities being a part of it. If you have any questions, I sent an email just today about an update in regards to the fireworks and some of the communications plan that we're already in motion with. So please reach out. I know Sergeant Biggs is also here if you have any questions. And then on a lighter note, Trish is going to come up and she has a quick update that she wanted to provide as well.
Great.
Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees. Thank you for giving me a couple of minutes here. I just wanted to share some exciting news with you. Emily Nitcher has officially accepted the Deputy Town Clerk position.
Yay.
Kelly's retirement. She can join me up here if she'd like.
Hey, Emily.
As you all know, Emily's been with the town for a while, 2 years, and she's been a real asset to the team. Over the last several months, especially with Megan leaving back in September, Emily stepped up and took a lot of responsibility. She's done a fantastic job, and her work has not gone unnoticed by any of us, I don't think. So please congratulate Emily on her new role, and we're looking forward to seeing her continue to excel in her new position and contribute to the smooth running of our town administration.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. That's
Yes,
nice.
we're excited. And finally, Mayor, just as a recommendation, there's a couple of things coming up on the calendar. We have a meeting on the 9th, July 9th. We're going to recommend, based upon and working with the mayor and some of the feedback that we've got from the community, opening up that study session that we originally had planned to do a listening
meeting?
tour for No Name Creek on the 9th. So we would do that from 5:30 to 6:30. We'll talk about, or we'll send a calendar invite in terms of where that location is. We might just do it here. I think it would be valuable to the town to do that. What we would do is then we would move a couple of items, just so you're aware. On the 23rd of July, we'll plan on doing an oil and gas update. That will be a pivotal to continue that work on the moratorium, as well as a combined meeting with PROS before the regular meeting. And then that would also open up to probably do the 5th Tuesday on the 30th, if at all possible, to do a quick follow-up from the mini retreat, some discussion there, and then we'll also do a comp plan update. So if you have any issues, if you could let me know, I would say maybe by the end of the day tomorrow on those schedulings, we would like to get that information out to No Name and advertise that, and then lock in these other dates to ensure that we can get those things accomplished on the 23rd and the 30th of July.
Okay. That's nice. Thank you. Yeah, I think the July 9th would be important if you all are available, recognizing that it's a normal board meeting night, but we do have a very frustrated neighborhood on the Bella Rosa intersection. Improvements, we've heard it via email, in person, phone calls, several. So I think it's appropriate that we lean into the opportunity to learn how to improve and even just give them a space to voice their concerns or frustrations. And it is our job to listen. So I just wanted to provide a meeting. And maybe this is the way we move forward on large projects like this. There's a neighborhood meeting prior to, road closures or anything that impacts the general safety or traffic of our community. I think we need to be more strategic, plan more clear communication. I think there's a lot to learn from this process. I know how much work transportation improvements are, but they in particular have a lot of eyes on them, and we negatively impacted a lot of residents on the decisions we made in this process, and it is not a choice on whether we need to improve on how we do this moving forward. So I would even recommend a meeting between departments after the July 9th meeting with our residents to better improve that process and make sure we've got follow-up and follow-through. That would be helpful.
Do I have to sit up here or do I get to sit out there?
And sit out there. You can be the resident and the board. Thank you for scheduling that. I appreciate that. I do have a bunch of letters up here, so I'll just leave those, Renee, if you don't mind, and we'll just change the date to the 9th. Great. Thank you. Good. Any questions for Ryan?
I just I think it's always helpful to remember what the preferred way to contact Frederick PD is when fireworks are happening. Is that a general PD phone number, or is that 911? And do our Facebook messaging, Facebook and everything have that easy thing so that we don't tie up emergency lines? So.
I believe that there's the non-emergency line, and I didn't publish that, but it might be helpful just to confirm that.
I missed the question. What was it?
What's the preferred way of for fireworks to report any concerns to the PD?
They can go online and just call us at the non-emergency dispatch number. The way they're doing it this year, dispatch, is we get 100 calls. I mean, it's back to back to back to back, and most of them refuse. They don't even want contact. They're just saying that their neighbor's lighting fireworks. So after 10 minutes, dispatch is automatically going to remove that, so it just falls off. If they want contact, it'll stay on there. And then we're going to have extra, I think there's 4 extras on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th officers that are going to be on duty. But yeah, the easiest way is just call them non-emergency number.
Trustee Padilla, I would say, just for the record, to put it out there, the non-emergency number is 720-652-4222. And we'll ensure that that's pushed out as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, do you mind if I pick on Kobe for a second? In your report, please? Sorry. Kobe, I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind providing some clarity on the Mendoza conversation from our tour and talk last Wednesday. Thank you.
Do you have a specific question or just?
I think there's maybe a misunderstanding on whether there's publication of potential design that the community should be considering. Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay. That is the correct map and correct
Yes.
form
So
of
what
communication.
We're doing at this point is we're trying to get public input on what folks might want to see out there,
Okay.
so that we can future plan for that and see if there are any actions we need to take on our end to help make that a reality. But at this point, we aren't saying that this is the end all be all. We just don't like to throw out an idea without some concept for the community to take a look at. So I think we've already gotten 15 or 20 comments on the project website and some pretty good feedback so far.
Yeah, I love that you can see people's comments. That was really clever. That was smart. May I ask, could this be a conversation between yourself and Prost? Would you consider the renaming of Mendoza? It's a public conservation and park space, and I think sometimes maybe those who have similarities to the name Mendoza think that it maybe is their park in their area.
Yeah.
And I would like for them to know that that's not the case.
Sure, that's easy.
Okay.
So it's just common practice in parks. A lot of times when we acquire property, it's sometimes during the planning process named after the former family name. So
Sure. Okay. But you'll work on
the
it
Tracy
being
Heights.
no, please. No. Nope. No, thank you. More community focused would be appropriate,
We'll
please.
probably come up with a temporary name and then have some kind of contest later or something.
That would be nice. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you. Also, the on some of the projects that are in application, I know we've got some that are going through inspection as well. The crematorium, I've had questions about. Do we know if the modifications to the crematorium they're getting, they're able to move forward on construction? Is it staying a crematorium, and is construction just to repair damage? Please.
Madam Mayor, Board of Trustees, got an update today from our building official who's been working with planning and others to try and get to a point where they could issue a building permit to the group that owns that building where the mortuary is. That is complete and it's ready to be issued, and they're going to be going and doing that work. I was advised today that some of that work, the scope of that work, includes removal of the entire roof, the actual top part of the roof, because of fire damage. Trusses that had been damaged by fire and smoke that need to be replaced. So that's something that the community is going to see going forward. There will be some modifications to the system that's used for incinerating on site as well. I think my understanding is it'll be a different type of a system that hopefully has a better track record. And then some modifications to the interior of the building to make it more fireproof, separating the back area of the building from the front office area of the building. And then some remaining planning items that needed to be completed that hadn't been completed, and engineering drainage items that hadn't been completed from originally. The original operator is still the same operator, and it would still be functioning as was originally planned, but no business licenses have been issued and COs have not been granted or anything like that at this point. So there should be no business operations inside of the building.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Any other questions for Brian? No. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and vote. There will be no separate discussion of consent agenda items unless a board member so requests, in which case that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered at the end of the consent agenda. Would anyone like to remove any items for discussion or provide direction on your consent agenda this evening?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you.
Trustee Meehan,
Yes.
Trustee Devaldi,
Yes.
Trustee Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. All right, action agenda item E. Emily. It's a big night for you, Emily. It is.
Alrighty. So my item is about the boards and commissions interviews that we did earlier last week and the week before. And I think I have a presentation. Thank you. Alrighty, so the strategic plan, this involves the dynamic, inclusive, and connected community. It brings a lot of diversity to our boards and commissions to have new people on them, and it also engages them as residents, so I think that's very good. Currently, the vacancies for our boards, committees, and commissions, the Pros Commission has 2 vacancies. Planning Commission has 1 vacancy. There are 6 vacancies on the Historic Preservation Committee. There are 3 on Arts Committee, and the Youth Commission currently has 15 vacancies. We did lose quite a lot with graduating seniors. Trustee Padilla and Trustee Taveldi, they worked with a various group of staff to do interviews for all of these applicants. We did those interviews on May 29th, May 30th, and June 7th. There was also another secondary interview for town staff to interview some youth commissioners, all as a group, and that occurred on June 12th. So we do have some recommendations from those interviews. For the Pros Commission, we recommend reappointment of Erin Fostick and Kristen Davis. For Planning Commission, we do recommend reappointment of Christy Conroy for that commission. For the Arts Committee, we do have 3 recommendations. So that would be Richard Maxwell, Jim R. Jacobs, and Jody Wild. They are all 3 new appointments. For the Historic Preservation Committee, we also have 3 recommendations. We have Pamela Smith, Jody Simek, and Krista Barnard. We did have another interviewee for an applicant, but it did turn out that they are part-time staff at the golf course. And so with kind of review with the attorney's office, it was decided that recommendation was not a good idea just due to the staff aspect. And then for the Youth Commission, we have 3 recommendations as well. Eli Robbins, Mackenzie Carroll, and Braden Spots. So if you choose to move forward with those appointments, these are the recommendations that we would make. And I do believe that quite a few of them are here this evening if you'd like to meet any of them.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I really appreciate the process, so thank you all for participating in interviews. Would you like to introduce any of them or ask them to come up and say anything, or
I would just
go with
it'd be
it?
great if they all came up as a group and just waved.
There's a lot of-
Make them do public speaking.
That would be nice. All right, if you are available and interested, please join us at the podium. And we won't make you say anything, but we'd still love to see you and meet you.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Yes,
too.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, great.
Do you want to say anything?
Well, I was just amazed at how much everybody had a background in. I mean, they were so qualified. There were moments I go, well, could you be overqualified for this spot? Because if you can, they are. So maybe they could just say their names, because some of them I didn't get to see because I was on Zoom and driving.
I'm Kristen Davis, and I've been a resident of Frederick since 2005. And I don't have professional qualifications, but I'm very passionate about our open space. And so I'm so honored to be reappointed. So thank you. I'm Erin Fosdick, the other person, I guess, running for Prost. I don't know. For Prost. I've been on the commission for some time and have been a resident since 2002 and really appreciate your consideration.
I'm Jody Simic. I'm going to be on the Historic Preservation Committee. I've been here for 4 years now, and I'm really excited to become part of the community.
I'm Richard Maxwell. I'll be a new appointee to the Arts Committee. I've been here for about 6 years. I just want to get involved.
Great, thank you.
And I'm Jim Jacobs, a new appointee for the Arts Commission as well. And I've just been a resident for a couple months, but I was very involved in a previous city with their Cultural Council and Arts Commission.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Thank you. You could sit down if you want to. All right, you all.
These are all separate?
I think these are all separate. If you're willing to partake, that would be helpful.
So separate.
If you'd like to, if there's not a desire to split it all out, you can make the move to appoint all of those. That
we don't want to just remove one person.
It's more like the consent agenda. You could do
right.
a motion.
Okay, fair.
Moving to appoint those that are presented.
Madam Mayor, I move to appoint all of the individuals presented by Emily tonight.
Second.
Trustee Lamont?
Of course, yes.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Mahan?
Yes.
Trustee DeValdi?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for your continued years of service. And thank you to those of you who are just starting out on what will be your continued years of service, hopefully. So thank you.
And I just want to thank Emily too. I forgot to thank Emily
always.
and Tricia for all the work too. Thank you.
Great. Yes. Nice job on your first item, Emily. Very well done. All right. Item F is Resolution 24R42. Kobe. Can have your 30 seconds back.
If all the people that just got appointed wanted to leave, now's the time. Oh, here it is. Good evening, Mayor and trustees again. I'm here tonight to present a contract approval for your consideration for Go Outdoors Frederick 2050. So this plan ties to our entire strategic plan framework. Parks, open space, and trails and recreation have a tendency to touch on most town priorities throughout any community in which they're involved. So we briefly touched earlier about on our strategic planning framework for our department. Tonight's focus will be Go Outdoors Frederick 2050. It establishes an implementation plan for the vision of parks, recreation, open space, and trails that's really outlined in the 2024 comprehensive plan. Or whatever that ends up being named. I think it's Frederick 2050. Allie copied my idea. In any case, what this really is a financial implementation plan for our park system over the next 25 years. How do we increase our recreational capabilities to our community? How do we provide the services they expect? How do we construct things in a sustainably financial manner? And how does that all tie back to equity from one neighborhood to the other? And so what this really does is outlines a whole litany of different priorities we'll have moving forward. But one thing it doesn't do for our community is stop us from the work that we're doing now. We've got a number of projects that are ongoing. We're not waiting to do anything until this plan is complete. We've got improvements going all over town in most neighborhoods to some aspect. So what we're asking for tonight is really to find out what's that going to look like in another couple years when the couple of the years the projects we've been working on are finally wrapped up and complete. How do we move forward after that? There'll be a ton of outreach during this project. Unfortunately, you'll have to see me again for probably a whole nother year's worth of events. The Pros Commission will be huge with this outreach, as will our partners throughout the community. The school, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the Boulder Creek corridor. Obviously, with that being a huge open space corridor in the new comprehensive plan, it'll be important for us to make partnerships out in that area of Frederick. Of course, other town departments and neighboring communities. The one thing I did want to point out tonight for the community is the one benefit of being sort of one of the last major master plans for the town of Frederick. It gives us the ability to think very regionally in how we look at projects throughout town. There's a roads project coming through. Let's tie a trail project through it. Or there's a, neighborhood collector street being worked on. Let's close that to work on a park while at the same time. It is kind of nice that we're able to do that with any number of different public utility projects that are out there. So that when it's done, it's not just the utility that's buried underground. There's a new slide or a park or a shelter right alongside it. If approved, right now our schedule looks like we would be able to wrap that up towards the end of 2025. Obviously, adoption gets a little tricky towards the end of the year with this board just because of the annual budget process. We'd have the ability to come back shortly into 2026 for that adoption. So we contracted this project out just to have additional resources for our department. We contract a number of different things, whether it's maintenance or consulting services like this to help staff lead the project. We will be doing the lion's share of this work, but we do need some assistance in putting together some of these final documents. Through a public RFP process, we selected Confluence and Pros Consulting. They are kind of a partnered deal. We did receive 3 RFP responses. We interviewed all 3. It was an incredibly long deliberation to figure out which entity we were going to go with. We received 3 highly, highly competitive bids. And I think that's probably a testament to the department's RFP that we issued and how competitive we were. We budgeted this initially as 4 different projects at an aggregate amount of $500,000, and this initial scope is just over $335,000. So the resolution in front of you tonight is a little bit wordy. What it does is it authorizes the town manager to enter into a contract with our consultant up to that amount and any such amendments as needed, up to an additional not to exceed amount of $500,000 for this effort. And the reason we did that is just to reduce red tape here in the next year and a half as we're working through this project, that if we probably will find additional things that we want to dive deeper on, or we're going to hear things that the community might want us to dive deeper on. And so we want the ability to be able to do that very quickly as we move forward through this project. Any questions?
Possibly after tonight's conversation or direction, would you share kind of where you're at in this process with CVPRD?
As far as FRA specifically or this project?
I think so that you are the one carrying the narrative so that they understand what the town of Frederick's plans as it's relative to parks, open space trails.
So, a little tough to give an update. The person that we'd been working with most closely actually accepted another position and left the district. So that position or that partnership had gotten quite strong in the couple of years that she'd worked there. So in any case, we're a little bit system reset at the administrative level. At the field level, our relationship's probably never been stronger. You saw probably in a lot of neighborhoods this year, a lot of kiddos out playing youth soccer in our neighborhood parks. We volunteered to take on a lot more kids throughout Frederick this spring to kind of lead the Carbon Valley in that effort. We by far offer the most field space for those activities, and we'll again have that this fall. But on an administrative level, we've met a number of times on FRA, had discussions, particularly about the baseball fields. We'll do the same thing for our West Regional Park as well. But for us, what we really want to make sure we're doing is securing our residents' future when it comes to recreation, at least for site planning and financial planning, and then hope that those partners kind of come to the table as we work through those things.
Appreciate that.
I just have one question. The 500,000 for 335, that's a huge overrun. I guess my gut is like 25% over would be normal. Should we be leaving it that open?
Yeah, entirely a valid question. Again, that's just the budgeted amount that we had. If you
doesn't
wanted to
mean that
reduce
the-
that amount, certainly.
Well, it doesn't mean that the consultant knows that and knows that he can just.
Oh yeah. So the contract is written very strictly at 335, 590, I think it is. They're not allowed to go above that without any kind of change order that the town manager has approved.
Okay.
So we do have
Good with
that.
that.
And even Brian won't let me approve it. He has to approve it.
You should name it after Brian.
It's just we got a really good bid for what we thought it would be.
Yeah. And willing to take on a lot of the lion's share of work ourselves too helped.
Colby, will this plan include, when you say financial plan, does that include, in 2050, here are the staff we need,
yeah,
here are the grants we can apply for, here's the match? I mean, what level of detail does the financial plan
and a ridiculously considerable amount of detail. To kind of give you a perspective on a scale of, charts and charts upon charts and charts, and the other end there's dollar signs based on each project, and that's it. It's definitely towards this end. It's going to prescribe different levels of service for maintenance now throughout the entire project. In the future, if any future board should decide to bring that up, bring that down, it'll have options for those different types of things. Obviously, a lot of it's going to be capital build out, just because the O&M side tends to be a little easier. The harder part is how do we build new things and then add staff. But yeah, that's really kind of the lion's share of a lot of it. How do we pay to maintain all the things that we have while adding these things that our community wants?
And Mayor and trustees, I'd also recommend similar to the transportation master plan. And I believe this is part of it. Similar, like having a table and an addendum that phases this. So what would phase 1 look like, and how much would that be? How many years is that out? Phase 2 and phase 3.
Right.
Similar to the transportation master plan.
Absolutely. And I would even add that ours has almost got kind of two inverse priority lists. So when we go through like a lot of our neighborhood parks and open spaces, a number of those really need a wholesale renovation. Well, we know those are more expensive. It takes longer to work our way through those. So what's the order in which we're going to do a lot of those big projects? And then to the inverse, okay, this project's down here. We need to give this neighborhood or community an improvement. Their slide's 45 years old. So how do we do those shorter, smaller ticket things in that inverse order? That's typically in a parks and open space plan, how you would see the CIP over that long of a period of time work out.
Is the person that's putting it together under like 55, so he'll be around when the things.
I'm still not working. Well, no, I'll still be working back then. Depends what Social Security does.
You'll be working then.
Any other questions for Kobe?
Your recommendation?
I would love a recommendation, please.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to recommend I move to adopt Resolution 24R42 as presented by town staff.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Trustee DeValdi,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Kobe, the Prost Commission in particular, commission, I don't remember what we changed it to, but is a very high functioning team. And I just think you deserve some kudos for that. I remember going to meetings where it was, kind of suggested to post at the time, like, hey, this is the new subdivision that's planned, and here's the pocket park that's being implemented. What are your thoughts? And it was kind of an afterthought. And it's full. Post and now Prost is full of very valued opinions and perspectives and experience that had important things to say. I think how you've changed your process, your SOPs, kind of the delivery of your planning, and really asking them all to lean in and share all that has made a very large impact on our community. So that should be celebrated, and it's very much appreciated. And just, I see it from a high level, and all the small things you all are doing on Prost functioning very well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Resolution 24R43, Sarah.
Good evening again, Mayor and Board of Trustees. So the presentation today is to discuss a grant application that town staff has been working on for the water reuse plan. This is in line with our strategic, reliable, and sustainable infrastructure goal of the town board by investing in our water supply and using those investments wisely by extending the use of our water, by creating a plan to capture and use that reusable water source that will be available to us in the future.
Can I interrupt just briefly? Because Trustee Pitty and I just had a side conversation in terms of we just want to make sure it's clear on the record. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, CWC is part of where I work at the Department of Natural Resources, but I don't have any decision making on their board for any grants and that. So Jason does not think there's any conflict of interest.
We wanted to make sure you all are aware of it.
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
So you guys just saw this tree of the water for the town of Frederick recently, but just to go over this again, we have 3 main branches that are funded by the water rates that makes up the town's water plan to have a sustainable water future. First arm is water infrastructure. We recently completed the potable water master plan, and we are working on completing the raw water master plan at this time. What comes out of those 2 plans are the capital improvement projects. And then we have our 3 main water supply plans, the 10-year water resource plan, long-term water resource plan, water efficiency plan. And out of those plans are recommendations for additional studies and additional changes to the way that we operate. So the water reuse plan is part of the long-term water resources plan based on the water supplies that will be available in the long term that have a reusable component to them. Our current main supply, CBT, does not have reusable component to it, so it's not something that we can do now, but as we grow into our future water sources, it's a great opportunity for the town to, like I said, capitalize on that investment that the town has made for our water portfolio. And the last arm is the town code. We recently came through with the municipal code update, and we are working on the design standards update as well as land use code updates. Again, all of the plans feed together. That pie chart identifies the portions of our portfolio and what sources those make up. So as you can see, the CBT is a large portion, but our future supplies are also a very large portion of that supply. The Windy Gap water, Lower Boulder water, and NISP all have a reusable component. So it's really important for the town to have an actionable plan for capturing and using that reusable supply into the future. Again, just some more information about those planning efforts. What we're talking about today is the reusable plan to create a plan for capturing and storage of that water. So water plan alignment, again, it's in line with the long-term water resources plan to be able to use those reusable supplies. It's a great conservation effort to make the most use of our water into perpetuity when we can capture it after it goes through wastewater treatment. So the plan would be to capture it at St. Vrain and get it into the town system. So part of the plan will identify is that through a pipe? Do we put that in storage near St. Vrain sanitation? Do we potentially look at a upriver exchange if it's possible to exchange it upstream to get it to our system with fewer infrastructure improvements? The blue dot on the map identifies where St. Vrain sanitation is. You can see, I don't know if there we go. So we're down here. St. Vrain sanitation is up there next to St. Vrain Creek. So our current wastewater, when it's treated, it is released to the creek. So the idea with reusable supplies is we have the rights to that portion of the wastewater that is associated with those supplies. So we are able to capture that and use it. that will require certain water applications through water court to identify how we're quantifying that amount of water, how we're going to capture it, all of the nitty gritty. That takes a lot of time and a lot of planning. So that's why water use plan is really important to get underway, and why we need some additional help through consultants to create this plan. We'll move forward. So one of the grants that we've identified is the Colorado Water Plan grant. So the idea is this grant applies to projects that are furthering the mission of the Colorado Water Plan, which is a very large document. It's full of a lot of information. The main goal is to shrink that future gap in water supplies versus water demands. So this plan fits within that by stretching our portfolio as much as we can by reusing our water. So we're identifying for water storage and supply in the funding categories. This grant has a 25% minimum matching requirement. The total estimated cost for the project is about $360,000. The application deadline is July 1st. That's what we're shooting for. This would be considered by the Colorado Water Conservation Board for the grant approval in September, since we're shooting for the first application round. It's a 16-month process, starting early, probably late Q1 and ending in Q2 of 2026. Like I said, it's a very detailed plan that we're going after. So this is the first grant. We are recommending 50% match through the grant for this, and we will be also applying for the WSRF funds as well, and that's a more basin-focused plan. So the Colorado Water Plan is the overarching plan, and then there's basin plans. So we're going to be looking at basin plan funding as well for this project, and that application date is at a later time. Staff recommendation is to approve the resolution. Sorry, those numbers aren't updated. But there's also recommended language for approval with conditions as well as no action. Do you guys have any questions tonight?
You mentioned the Colorado plan, sorry, and the basin funding or plan funding process. Are there separate grants that are relative to those plans as well, or no? This is the only grant potentially throughout this process, or are there separate grants that we have an opportunity to participate in for the basin plan as well?
So there is a separate grant for the basin funds that we're going to be applying for as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Said the match was 50%.
So for this grant, it's a 25% minimum. We're asking for 50% through this grant, and then we'll ask for another 25% through the other grant.
Okay,
That's why it makes an even 100.
how did that add up?
Mm-hmm.
Working with Tracy on these?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Tracy has been quite a help.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a very technical one too. So I'm sure you'll be working together on it. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Some direction on 24R43 would be helpful.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution 24R43, the application for the Colorado Water Plant Grant.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Trustee Devaldi,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Padilla,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan, Trustee Lamont.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you're participating in.
And Madam Mayor, just looking at that presentation, I don't know in terms of our previous conversation with regards to the water rate study, is this being able to tell the story of reusable water portfolio might be something that could be useful for our current residents to feel a little bit more engaged in the NISP discussion. At least that's a thought I had.
I like that. That's helpful.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. Before you tonight for consideration is the award of design contract for the Weld County Road 13 and Weld County Road 20 intersection operation improvement project. This is Colorado Boulevard and Bellarosa Parkway. I'm sure you're familiar with the area. This aligns with our strategic plan for strategic, reliable, and sustainable infrastructure by investing in our transportation infrastructure and advancing our transportation master plan. Background and details of the request. So this request is in conjunction with the Dr. Cog grant that we applied for and were awarded back in August 23. So Bellarosa and Colorado are identified as the number 2 intersection within the TMP, identified for travel lane widening, turn lanes, pedestrian improvements, crossings, as they currently don't exist in the area. So on March 20th, the town solicited for qualifications. We received 5 proposals. 11 is incorrect. And the highest rated is JUB Engineers. They were reviewed by both Frederick staff and Firestone staff, and it was a unanimous choice there. So background, again, this is part of the Dr. Cog Surface Transportation Block Grant Transportation Improvement Project for the fiscal year 24-27, as awarded by Dr. Cog and Southwest Weld Forum. So the grant amount was for $2.059 million for a total amount with the $516,000 matching local agencies, which is split between Frederick and Firestone, for a project amount of $2.575 million. So design elements of the project, again, conceptual layout will include additional auxiliary lanes. Bellarosa Parkway will be built out to 5 lanes. Not all will be initially used. It'll be striped out for the travel lanes going east-west to Pinecone, which will stay in its current configuration per Firestone. There'll be additional ADA ramps in the northwest quadrant. There'll be sidewalks added. We'll push that as far west as we can with the goal of hopefully getting to Wetlands Loop so that the neighborhoods there have some actual pedestrian improvements in the area. And this will follow the current project for additional drainage improvements in the area that will help facilitate this project. So here you see the town's conceptual layout of the design with some of those elements. The consultant, JUB Engineers, provided this. It's a little bit bigger. It separates turn lanes on Colorado Boulevard so that it provides full 2 through lanes with separated right turn lane. And they also identified some of the issues and concerns that are initial to the project, obviously acquiring right away in the northwest quadrant for the county residents that's right there. Otherwise, the town owns the southwest quadrant, and Firestone owns the full right, the eastern part. Sorry, didn't mean to shoot you in the face there, Brian. So that's the consultant's conceptual. Financial considerations. So the award for contract is for $380,000. The town has the option of awarding the contract, to reject and renegotiate, or to rebid with a different scope of work. Choosing not to award may affect the grant timeline and some of our requirements to meet that. Staff recommends that the board award the contract and approve Resolution 24R37. Are there any questions?
When is this supposed to be done?
So it'll be so it's fiscal year 24-27. So design would be 24-25, acquisition would be 25-26, with construction in 26-27.
So we're gonna wait 2 to 3 more years and tear up that intersection again.
We're currently not tearing up that intersection.
We're getting in. Well, we're basically hitting the wetland.
Just west of the.
Yeah, so currently our improvements only go to about here. So we're at the very tip of it. And right now we're raising the road, so there's some tie-in. But it'll be additional paving with curb and gutter.
That question, are there opportunities to expedite? Do you have any recommendations on what we can do to support you to see if there is an opportunity to expedite construction?
If the design gets done faster and acquisition goes smoothly, it could go faster. Generally speaking, that's the timeline you do any big project on is 1 year for design, 1 year for acquisition, and then hopefully 1 year for construction.
If I could, in terms of the acquisition piece, we don't want to necessarily try to acquire more than we need, or certainly not less than we would need. So that's typically why we wait on that process until after the design's complete. But certainly, depending on how amenable those neighbors are to that process, that could be a very short timeline, or it could be a long, drawn-out timeline.
Correct. Yeah. So the design process will identify, like Jason alluded to, the exact needs. Obviously, we're not going to have a sidewalk going north-south on the west side of the road, so that there's not a need for the 8-foot sidewalk, the tree lawn. So we can eliminate that from the acquisition process.
Worked with JUB before?
Yes, we are currently working with them for the design of the County Road 11 and 20 project, Silver Birch in Bellarosa.
I've got just a general concept, a question or comment, I'm sorry. Is there a reason that you refer to everything as Weld County Road 13, Weld WCR Road 20?
Yes, sir. Because it's a name change at Colorado, it was shorter. Instead of saying Bellarosa / Pinecone Avenue, since it's a partnership project. So Weld County Road 20 over here is Pinecone Avenue in the town of Firestone. This is Bellarosa Parkway, obviously. So just to shorten the name, I just referred to it by the county road designation, since that's consistent and shorter.
Yeah, I can understand that. I just sometimes, if you look at a road or something like this, and you're referring to it, most people know it now as Bellarosa or Pinecone.
Mm-hmm.
So just insert the names somewhere in there, and just a comment.
Sure. Any other questions? Not some direction. Will be helpful.
Let's see. Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolution 24R37, Weld County Road 13 and Weld County Road 20 intersection operation improvement project as presented.
Second. A second.
Trustee Mahan?
Yes.
Trustee DeValdi?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Lamont?
Yes.
Trustee Padilla?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. I think that it's premature to make a recommendation now, but maybe not to have discussions departmentally once the design concepts are shared with you all and finally approved, having a communication strategy and having departmental conversations on how we plan road closures and all of those things. Like it looks like we've got a couple years to figure this out and do it right. So that's the expectation. Thank you. Everything's so expensive and it takes forever. It hurts.
I can't tell you it's a frustrating detail.
Definitely.
I was 400 yards from Safeway, now I'm 4 miles.
Yeah. Should email your mayor.
Can't go north. I mean, yeah, I knew it was coming, so.
Yeah.
Mayor, I would recommend, I know it's further down the road, but probably before the end of the year, perhaps we have a conversation or a study session in regards to how we handle, like with road closures. I know we talked about a community meeting, but what are all the impacts that, you know, later down the road, what does that look like? Are there other opportunities like a soft closure, full closure?
Right.
It's difficult. I get that it's difficult in Frederick. We don't have a whole lot of roads, but it's hard to reroute artillery traffic into a residential neighborhood. And I can appreciate the residents' frustration. Myself living over there as well, it has completely changed the whole dynamic of that neighborhood. And when you have kids, and I appreciate the board's concern and being willing to have a listening ear. There are some concerns over there, so I think that's something that we can accomplish before the end of the year as we prepare for this. And what does that look like in the future? Because I know some of those residents will also remember, well, wait a second, wasn't this closed 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Why wasn't all this done at that point? So
They'll find that out when they see this approval tonight, is that it's, you know, it will take some time. So, yes.
And I would say with the approval tonight, when we have that meeting on May 9th, start discussing that now.
July 9th.
I know, sorry, July 9th.
Yeah.
I know it's far enough down the road, but, you know, the why, you know, I think the good of it will be seen by everybody. If you ever sat at that intersection in the afternoon and want to tear your hair out, it's going to improve that significantly. But I think, you know, hey, we had to do this section now,
right,
and we are apologizing and figuring out the process where we failed on this. But here, this is coming down the road, and we promise to learn from this experience and make it a better process for you when this does happen in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
Because you already, when you go to turn out and go east, almost the entire day it's backed up past, you know, it's already messed up.
Right.
Everybody knows it's messed up. So they're going to accept
They're going to want it fixed.
They know it needs to get fixed. They
Yeah.
just don't want to have to deal with it while it is.
Right. Right. Well, and I think, you know, we've talked about a few times just what we're capable of. And when we had the mill and overlay project, when we had the Tipple intersection, we felt at that time like we were over communicating, but in all reality, we weren't. That was the right pace. Our community wanted to hear it 45 times from 45 different mediums. They wanted a video. They wanted to talk about what the signs were going to say. They wanted an avenue to submit their frustrations, and we provided it to them. So we know that we're capable of doing that. That's our expectation moving forward, because that's the community's expectation. So you can't do it on one project and then neglect that process on another. And maybe it's just the solid implementation of the process itself. That's all up to you all, but we can't have a project like this again. So whatever that looks like, you all let us know if you need our help with anything, but okay, thank you. It is time for trustee reports. Does anyone have any items tonight?
I've got a couple of thoughts just from the last couple of days and just jotting some things down. So, one of the things that we talked, I got to meet with Brian and with and Jason and Mark yesterday, and one of the things that we talked about is maybe going into these projects, having a Fred protocol of looking at a project from more than just one perspective. Like, I know it's really easy if I'm in this department to only be focused on this, or if I'm in this department to only be focused on this, but maybe looking at it from, you know, for those of our staff members that live in a different community, if this was happening in your community, what would you want it to look at? So maybe just giving it more of a Fred touch, going through that. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, which I think is a great idea, and could really move those projects to make sure that we don't have a blind spot like this. I had not been, I've been out of town for the last couple of weeks, and I was very surprised to find myself sitting in a long line of traffic on Tipple, going west. I'm wondering if we might need to figure out something. I know it's bad during the school year for a brief amount of time when people are picking up and dropping off, and then it tends to be pretty flowy the rest of the time. But I know that part of that is it's backed up right now because of the closure on Colorado Boulevard. if that's not going to be completely finished before school starts back, it's going to only be a lot worse. I don't know if we might need to look at some way of managing that intersection. I believe Tipple and Silver Birch for the duration of that project, because that's going to start causing some really bad. It's about like a school day right now, but add that school day traffic, it's going to be blisteringly bad for people. And I already saw a little bit of craziness and shenanigans just sitting there going, "Wow, people are not happy." But I mean, the reality of summer in Colorado, or really anywhere, is construction is going to happen. They're all necessary changes, like Trustee DeVeldi said. We know it's necessary. We know it'll be good, but in the meantime, it's going to tick us off and make us a little bit crazy. So anything that we can do to alleviate that. Another thought, maybe as we hopefully can find a way to improve our relations with our neighbors to the north and south, maybe it's time to start having conversations about trying to find, I know it might be ludicrous and there's going to be arguments, but maybe solidifying names of streets so that they're not, they change halfway across, but maybe finding some way to work together as a team, because more people in a more suburban area, which is what we're becoming as we grow, are going to refer to things like Bella Rosa and Pinecone and not Weld County Road 13 or 20. I know that's a long conversation and a lot of work that's going to have to happen, not to mention a fact of getting along better in cooperation, but it might be something that we want to put on our radar of looking at codifying. I mean, we were all able to agree on Colorado Boulevard. Maybe that was forced upon us by a higher entity, but looking at some cooperation to, pick one of the two names of a street that divides into two different things and solidifying it for the sanity of the people that have to drive them or give instruction or directions to get places. And one last request, and this may be a little bit crazy, kind of finding that, is there a way that we can have a formatted, like the final resolutions on every slideshow exactly as they need to be read, whether it's, myself or someone else, just to make sure that they're consistent? Because those last couple there, I kind of was like, I don't know exactly what to say, and I don't want to sound stupid asking for a resolution, but just some common language that are, since we get these wonderful slideshows, which are so well thought out, just that last slide that can sit up there and have those pretty thoroughly for myself or for any of the fellow trustees that want to make those recommendations. That would be a helpful thing.
Okay.
Standardized.
Yeah. Okay, that's good feedback. Thank you. Good idea. Maybe we can get a map or something to the students when they start school, because I think it's closed through September, right? That intersection. Yeah. I heard that. I heard Kevin volunteer to make a TikTok video. Is what I heard.
I thought I wasn't supposed to make TikTok videos.
I'm allowed to have TikTok.
Okay.
Videos. That's what I heard. Thanks for volunteering, Jim.
I'll do a little dance while they're
right.
Remember to go this way.
Intersection dance.
If I could piggyback on that, because that's how I drive home, and I want to be careful. I'm trying not to be selfish, but I do think school, the first day of school, it's going to be double, and so I wonder at that intersection if there aren't some temporary traffic lights potentially that could be put there, because number one, you have high school students who are student drivers that are going to be there, but when you're like at the four-way, it gets really confusing on who was there first when the lines of cars are there. And I was thinking about like August whatever 15th or 17th, it is going to be a lot worse. And I'll also, the other thing is just, we finished our lawn replacement project and applied through the town. And the only reason we applied is because nobody else applies. And so I felt okay being part of that pool. So very grateful for the resources, and our yard looks great, and we'll use a lot less water. So I'll bring in pictures and show everybody. So
That's great. Thank you. Easy process.
yeah, it was so easy. My husband did all of it. It's so easy.
Perfect.
Yeah, fine for me.
Yeah.
Great.
Sounds ideal. Good job. Anybody else?
What was it? 2 Mondays ago? 2 Mondays ago?
Yes.
Trustee Lamach and I and a couple of choice staff members had the privilege of interviewing some candidates for our judge position. Great stuff, and we should have some candidates in front of the full board pretty soon so that we can extend an offer.
Great.
Given the schedule of one of the finalists, they're out of town until the 7th, so I didn't want to spring it on them to try to get back here by the 9th. So we're shooting for the July 23rd date to bring those two in an executive session so that you can have that interview and they can respect their privacy. And then once that decision, after that, you can direct me to negotiate whatever the contract may look like.
Yeah. That's a great update.
Have we communicated to all of our potential judges that
right,
who's moved on and who is not? And
right. So I was at CML last week, so I didn't get that done, but we're working on getting that done now.
Just out of curiosity, with that vacancy, has that put? It seems like things are moving really fast, and I appreciate the diligence and the speed. But has that put us behind with our cases? And
so we have.
Dan's been sitting in.
Okay. We have Judge Ablow, who you all appointed a couple of years ago to be our backup judge. So she ran the docket in July, and in June. She is unavailable for August, so we tentatively or proactively canceled that date altogether just so that we didn't know whether we would have our new judge seated by that time. So that the police department is going to be splitting those out over the September and October dockets. So those will be a little bit heavier, but that way we're not trying potentially a week before a court date to get a hold of everybody to reschedule. So we kind of planned that out to have it that way. I've had a few additional candidates reach out well after we closed the position. And I know we had talked previously about perhaps having an additional backup or two so that we can have a couple of other options. Judge Avlo did a great job, but just she's not available as she wasn't in August, so that we can have a couple of other options as well. So once we get this recruitment finalized, then we can go back out for a substitute judge RFP. Basically take what we have and just massage it for that purpose.
Got it. Covered my thoughts.
Right. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to go into, following a brief recess, go into executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and or instructing negotiators under CRS section 246402-4E1 regarding Metro District agreements.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you.
Trustee DeValdi,
Yes.
Trustee Lamont,
Yes.
Trustee Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Trustee Mahan.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Let's take a 5-minute recess and we'll come right back.